You will never see what they call the so-called Jesus in the Christian church. The Christian pastors in the Christian church are very manipulating. When I go back and look at the Seventh Day Adventist church where I grew up at, when I go back and I look at a lot of that stuff, so-called Christians will try to play you for a fool. So-called pastors, so-called Christian pastors, also will try to play you for a fool. They'll get up in the church and they'll preach about, well, instead of uh, looking at me, what I did and finding fault in me, instead of looking at Jesus. Meaning that if they done some fucked up shit to you in the Christian church, they going to try to manipulate it and throw it off by saying, keep your eyes on Jesus. That ain't nothing but a damn manipulation. It's to shut you down if you try to reveal something, some fucked up shit about them. You see what I'm saying? I can never, like me, I'm proud to say I got out the goddamn Christian church. Because once I left that in 2014, I was free. You ain't no free thinker. The people in the Christian church where I come from is fucked up. They are. This ain't down on them. Most High don't even dwell in those temples. They are trying to, like, if they did you something, or you if you have an issue with them and you tell them about it, some of them are manipulated by saying, well, I'm sorry if you felt like I did anything or manipulated, done anything that wasn't my intentions and stuff. Um, well, I done got it right with you. I done said what I had to say. Now that's between you and Jesus. That's what they gonna tell you to shut you down, to manipulate you, or try to humiliate you and make you put a guilt trip, like if they so holy or they are righteous people. You know what I'm saying? And I'm speaking like this because I was part of the Christian church. I was part of it. Um, what are some of the ways that the Christian church can manipulate you? When many Christians communicates focus on genuine care, spiritual growth, and charitable works, certain toxic leaders or institutional structures use systematic manipulation to control behavior, limited critical thinking, and enforcing absolute submissive. You know what I'm saying? And they do that. They want you to be submissive to what they're actually saying. Emotional and psychological exploitation. We expose guilt and shame leaders. Guilt and shame. Leaders focus heavily on human sinfulness. Leaders focus heavily on human sinfulness to introduce constant personal unworthiness. This leaves congregations feeling permanently indebated to the institution for spiritual validation. Emotional, okay. Spiritual gaslighting. When a member question a leader, see that they try spiritual gaslighting. When a member questions a leader or shares negative experiences, they are told they lack faith or exhibited a spiritual a spirit of rebellious or are fallen to submit to God ordained authorities. The atmosphere and sensory engineering Sunday services often utilize highly coordinated lighted, I don't know what that is, repetitive core structure, I don't even know, crest crescendon music to lower psychological defense and intentionally introduce and alter highly valuable emotional state, social isolation and structural control versus uverse uversion theme in celery. I don't know what that is. The church portrays the secular words as entirely corrupt or dangerous. All of these things is manipulation. You see what I'm saying? What are the three signs of manipulation? Manipulation is a psychological tact used to control or influence others for personal gain. That's what manipulation is. They use the right words. They use certain words that they can use to trigger the person who had an issue with the leaders or somebody in the face. So what they'll do is they'll turn around and say, "Well, take it everything to God in prayer, or take it to Jesus," and all that type of stuff. All that type of stuff ain't nothing but manipulation. That's all the fuck that is. That's what it is. We've been manipulated into believing that cussing is bad. You see what I'm saying? We've been manipulated into that. Yep. What phrases do manipulation use? Manipulation frequently use cover phrases to control narrative, done accountability, and erode, erode yourself trust by using conditional, effective blaming, shifting, and outright denial. They make you question your own reality. That's manipulation. They make you feel like you the one that's wrong. Like, for example, if you have a problem with a person being a hypocrite, like me, you hear me always say, well, they only want to come around as long as it benefit them. When they hear you talk like that, they'll look surprised and I feel surprised as if you saying something wrong. They'll come behind you and say, well, you don't know what the person is going through, judging you. You know what I'm saying? You judging, so you don't know my situation. So you can't speak on my situation and all of that. But all the whole time you been going around them and making sure that they was good. But when you have a problem with them trying to reciprocate the energy, they're gonna look at you like you a fool and try to manipulate you into believing, well, maybe I'm doing something wrong. No, you ain't did nothing wrong. You just tried to expose their manipulation, and then they in return try manipulate it the way you was what you was saying about them to try to control you or whatever, and then you ain't got enough knowledge to define it. You gonna believe that you was wrong for the way you reacted, you know. So that's how they do in the Christian church. And I guess that's just me just trying to break down the excuse me, the manipulation in the church. You see what I'm saying? In the so-called church. Because we know, for one, Christ ain't dealing with buildings made by man's hand. He don't deal with that. So let me just lay down and get some rest. The Christian church, the so-called Christian church, don't do nothing but try to manipulate people. That's what I name it.